Welcome to Stories of Us. We transform the narrative of the American veteran by adding more stories of us. Through telling our stories, we heal, we connect, and we create change in all those who bear witness. I am Jason Nunez, Executive Assistant at Minority Veterans of America, and today we are joined by Fawn Sanchez. She is an Army veteran who served 8 years active duty, a third-generation veteran, continuing the legacy of service started by her grandfather, Pvt Juan C Sanchez, Korean War veteran. Fawn is Shoshone-Bannock from Fort Hall, Idaho, and currently lives in the Seattle, Washington area with her 2 children. Fawn, thank you so much for being here and welcome to Stories of Us.
Thank you.
So, Stories of Us. Let's begin with your story. Fawn, can you tell us the story of you? The where, the who, the what has made you who you are today?
Yes, the story of me started in Fort Hall, Idaho. I am Shoshone-Bannock, which is a Native American nation in the northern part of Idaho. I'm also Carrizo-Comecrudo, which is an indigenous nation from Mexico. That's where the Sanchez name comes from, and where my grandfather was born. And actually, his father and all 5 of his brothers also served in the military. So I always knew about their service. In fact, heard a lot of stories about it. And really, that legacy of that warrior spirit was something that I was taught very early on to be proud of and to learn about. Native American people do serve at a very high rate in the military. So I always knew about their service growing up and heard their stories. Also heard my grandfather's story coming from Mexico and joining the military and having his children and experiencing a lot of poverty. I was lucky to grow up in a very traditional Native American household surrounded by my culture, but we were very poor. It was a multi-generational household though, so I always had my uncles, my aunts, a lot of cousins, my grandparents around, and in that regard was very lucky and was also taught a lot about my culture and my traditions. As I grew up, I really struggled with kind of knowing what to do with my life, and I knew I wanted to go to college though, and that's what led me to the military. So I did attend college and get my bachelor's degree. I majored in theater. Obviously, at the time, I didn't quite know what I wanted to do professionally, but that felt like a good option at the time. And then I became a human resource manager in the Army. Once I got out, again, it was kind of at that crossroads of not knowing what to do or really what I was qualified to do. So I took the first job that came along, which was an executive assistant role on Joint Base Lewis McChord here in Washington, where I live now. It led to some great things for me, though. I got to experience a lot of other people who were going through the same thing. We're just getting out of the military and we're going back to college and getting degrees. So I also went back to college and got a master's degree in human resources and then an MBA, which eventually led me to the career that I'm in today. About 9 years ago, I started working at Amazon and became a staffing specialist, but that then led to AWS about 5 years ago. So I started going down a more technical path and really dove into the STEM profession, which I found out that I really liked once I got really ingrained in that. And now I'm a senior HR leader in AWS, and I manage technical programs for our cleared workforce in AWS. Now, during this time, I also had 2 children. Isabella is 14 and Eli is 6. So I also spend a lot of time volunteering at their schools and working in their schools and spreading awareness about computer science as an option, especially for women who are very underrepresented in that area. So yeah, I guess that's my story.
That is great. Thank you so much, Fawn, for sharing. I'm sure that the kids are growing up in the same legacy and cultural, at least environment, storytelling situation that you did. So that's the legacy lives on. Let's see which one of them joined the military after you.
You talk about it.
So on the topic of military and veteran experiences, how did some of the identities and experiences you hold shape your journey till today?
Yeah, obviously my journey to the military was very much shaped by my family who had served. Even today, my twin sister is a lieutenant commander in the Navy. Our little brother is a major in the Marine Corps. So we do continue to really try to serve in any way that we can. A lot of our family members serve as government contractors or DoD employees. It's really just something that we've been taught. So that really shaped my sort of awareness of the military. It really, again, wasn't until I just needed a way to pay for college that I decided to join. But I will say it was such a wonderful experience looking back on it. Obviously, there were a lot of hardships in that time. I enlisted in 2000. Obviously, not knowing what would happen next, my enlistment date was actually September 11th, 2000. And 1 year later, was September 11th, 2001. The trajectory of my life really changed. I actually was supposed to go into the Army Reserves. I had enlisted in the Army National Guard first and was going into the reserves. And then I was sent active duty involuntarily at that time. It ended up being obviously a positive experience. I got a lot of great experience and made a lot of friends and, really got to experience that active duty journey that I really hadn't planned on doing at that time. Obviously, it was difficult. I will say, looking back on it, I have a lot of positive memories, a lot of great friends formed from that time. And it really was one of the most diverse experiences of my life, just working with people from all over the world. I encountered a lot of Native American veterans as well. In fact, I remember one time I was in Germany and was feeling really kind of alone. And I was at the showers and we were on a small deployment. And I noticed a Native woman come out of the shower. And I guess she was Native because she had a giant tattoo of some Native American art. And I just asked her, like, sorry, not to be weird, but are you Native? And it was just so great to like connect with somebody in that way, even though I kind of felt like a stalker by doing it that way. But again, it was just these little things that connect us during that time. What also motivated me is just being surrounded by people that, also were there to get an education, give back to their communities. People joined for a lot of different reasons, and hearing their reasons was really inspiring, but it also helped me to sort of have that representation that I didn't have before. I had not really been surrounded by people that were working towards college degrees or had other careers in mind for when they got out of the military. So I got a lot of guidance there that I otherwise would not have gotten.
That's great. Oh my gosh. I'm just trying to picture the random approach. Hi, saw you in the shower, saw a tattoo. Can we talk about it?
A little awkward.
A little awkward, but it's those moments of boldness, of storytelling, in that case, the storytelling of imagery and what that means and that connection. So storytelling comes in many ways, and I'm so glad that you were able to, approach it. That definitely takes strength and courage. So AWS, two beautiful children in Washington, Indigenous, Captain Sanchez, Army. Today, who would you say you are today?
Yeah, all of that kind of wrapped into one package, I suppose. Yeah, it's been a journey, and I'm certainly not done growing. I am one of those people that I will probably always be in college. I've discovered I really like to learn, and I want to use every penny of that GI Bill also. So I'm going to use all of it until there's none left. Yeah, I think it's really just formed this motivation for me to really give back as much as I can, to be that representative for people that may not have that person in their lives. When I was growing up again, it really wasn't an option for me to really do anything else. And I say this a lot, that having career options and choices is a privilege. And it's not something that I was surrounded by. I did not know any Native American doctors or teachers or lawyers. Even all of the teachers on our reservation and our tribal school were all non-Native. So I wasn't really surrounded by people who, really represented those careers for me. So I would say that's a big part of who I am today, is trying to just get out there into these communities, show people what they can do, what their options are, and give them choices, because that is a privilege that a lot of people don't have. So at work, I've really dived into the STEM careers. Like I said, I kind of stumbled upon a STEM career accidentally on my own. Once I got into that space, realized I really liked the STEM space. I like technology. And so I'm really involved as president of the Indigenous Affinity Group in a lot of mentorship programs and programs where we can get computer science education and STEM skill building out into underserved communities, because those communities often don't have access to those things. But we also are trying to solve for some of the other problems of access that these communities have, such as food and basic hygiene and living items and other things that they need to be able to even participate in things like this. So it's been really rewarding to be able to do that. I hope that other people like me, that are growing up now, will see that they have a lot more options. And that, I would say, that's really who I'm trying to just be right now in every part of my life.
Fawn, that's amazing. I mean, and you're living proof, and such a great mentoring guide for your kids too, because the experiences that you've had over the years, I mean, the experience of joining in 2020 and then 2000, and then 2001, September 11th happening. I mean, that alone could definitely change the trajectory of everyone's life. I mean, it kind of has for all of us. But then all your lived experiences and growth and education and excelling and never stopping or letting anyone ever stop you, to today. I mean, impressive and super kudos to you for all that you've done, through today. And I'm sure there's more to come. So it's not like this is the end of it. Thank you so much, Fawn, for sharing your story. What would you tell folks who may be hesitant to share their story? Why would you say that it's important for all of us to tell our stories?
I think a lot of people are hesitant to tell their story because they think maybe they're the only person going through this. People won't understand. They don't want to face judgment. It's something that I certainly went through as well. I tend to be a very sort of positive person by default, but my period of leaving the military and transitioning out and trying to find a job, it was a really, really difficult period for me. And this was sort of before there was all the social media. So I didn't have a lot of people to connect with during that time. And it was a dark period. I really had to push through a lot of insecurities and fear. I did return back to my tribal homelands and quickly found that there were no jobs. I didn't even have cell phone access. It was 4 hours from Seattle. I didn't have access to any of these large career fairs. I realized if I did want to work, in corporate, I would have to move away from my tribal lands, which was painful to think about. And looking back, I wish I had organizations like this where I could have shared my story. I could have tried to connect with other people that were going through the same things. And so I think that's a big piece of it, is that when we share our stories, there's other people out there that can connect to that and realize that they're not alone, that they have resources. There's other people that have been through this. And I also think they see where our journeys have maybe started and where they've ended up. And they see that sometimes, where you are today definitely does not dictate where you end up later. Again, I majored in theater. I'm now a STEM professional. So whatever I got my degree in really doesn't matter today. I just get a degree in anything. And, where your journey takes you is really not something you can see today. So I also just try to really say yes to as many opportunities as I can that come my way, so I can build skills and keep moving forward. Because again, I think that story has had a lot of twists and turns, but hopefully at least one person connects with it. So I encourage other people to share too, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's just, the stories of us healing, connecting, creating, changing. It's truly bearing witness to all of those who we encounter and who we tell it to. So Fawn, thank you again for your years of service, and for, being so generous with your storytelling. We appreciate you being on Stories of Us. For all those watching, thank you for spending some time with us as we shared another story of us. And we encourage you to continue, join us for the stories to come, as well as on Veterans Day, November 11th, for a live interaction of our Stories of Us program in Washington. You can follow us at Minority Vets or visit us online at minorityvets.org. And we look forward to seeing you again. Fawn, again, thank you. And thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much.